So man, this man had passed and he went to the other side and he's showing his his near death experience or whatnot. So we finna be getting into this. Um Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe for this. It's finna be a serious video. I always, especially on this channel, there's always gonna be serious videos on this channel. I'm gonna trying to keep it that way. Um But yeah, let's go ahead and get to see what he has to say. I'm finna be pausing the video, so I'm not finna it's a long video, but it's not that long, but it's long enough. But I'm not gonna sit here and keep going. I'm not gonna go back and let how I always do, let the video play then go back. I'm not finna do all that. So I'm finna be talking along the video as it plays. So let's go ahead and let's get to it.
When I got out the hospital, I went into depression because it was so beautiful there. And did nobody understand why I kept saying I wanted to stay there. I have left here. I dropped this body and I was back home. And then you have to come back here, and I was just upset that I couldn't stay. There's no words for a lot of it. Especially the love. I can't tell you how that love really is. It goes beyond human words. Everything is about love. But when I came back, I was different. And I didn't think like everybody else did anymore. I knew I was here to tell my story. That's my job now.
Mm-hmm. It's just crazy, man. He came back, he died, came back to, tell his story and everything like that, man. We don't know what's after death, especially when you pass and everything. We don't really know.
My name is Brian Jordan, and I'm from Slidell, Louisiana. My dad had an 18-wheeler. He owned his own truck. He was mostly a gravel hauler. So most of the time we grew up helping him. We were changing those tires like 8, 9 years old. We'd do all the flats when he'd get home. By the time I was 13, I was driving it. And 15, I was on the highway with it. So 15 years old, pulling 80,000 pounds. Me and my brother, we were pretty much men before we were boys. And I was never out partying, that type with my friends. Because, man, we were busy. Graduating high school, I was too young. Back then, you had to be 21 years old to have a CDL. So I went into the Army at 19. I went to Germany, airborne school in Fort Benning. I was there 3 years. And my last year was in Korea. After 6 years, I got out on an honorable discharge, and I got a job with my dad because he was working for this company, and that's how I started heavy equipment. And once I picked it up, that's all I ever wanted to do from then on. Pushing all that dirt or digging whatever, it's just the power of it all that I love. I didn't have much of an outside life. You would work 3 weeks straight, 21 days, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. So all I know is work. I was in Pratt, Kansas, and we were building a wood farm. The giant blades. I got up one morning, I went to work, it was a Saturday, and we were supposed to get off early that day. I was pushing with my bulldozer. I stopped at noon, and I normally would keep me some bread in there with peanut butter and jelly, a quick sandwich. I ate a sandwich, got back to work like 10 after 12, and that's when I felt the pressure. I felt pressure in my neck, and it was freaking me out. I'm like, well, what is this? I figured it would go away, so I kept working. and then it wouldn't stop. So I stopped the bulldozer and I climbed down off of it. The pain started going into my chest. So I went to my water truck driver and I had him take me to my medic. By the time I got to the office, I walked in, I said, hey, I need some Tums. And the reason I said that is because the pain that I had, it happened to me like a year before. I was working in North Dakota, actually, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend. And then as she was talking, it felt like a horse kicked me in my chest. And I told her, I said, hey, I said, my chest is hurt. And she knows I don't complain about nothing like that. She knew it was serious. So she said, call 911 right now, and she hung up. And I checked my pulse in my neck, and it was the heart. I couldn't believe that a heart can beat that way. It was all over the place. When I got to the hospital, they told me that it was heartburn. So here we again a year later, and I'm telling her, hey, this happened to me before, so I just need some Tums. And she gave me aspirin and Tums, and then she made me sit down. And then as I was sitting there, my arm started hurting. And that's when I knew, I said, okay, this is getting serious.
You gotta go to the hospital.
And as I was sitting there, I started getting sleepy. And then I felt myself passing out. And so as I was falling to the floor, the safety guy was sitting right across from me, just like me or you right now. And the last thing I thought, I said, I hope he catch me before I could just picture myself going face first into the floor. And everything went black. And I was in the stars. And so I said to myself, okay, I remember falling out that chair. So I said, I must be passed out, or I must be asleep. I'm figuring out I'm having one of these weird dreams because I didn't know what I was looking at. And I went to this cave-like place. It was huge. And the walls came down. And as the walls came down, they should have came down to a floor, right? But where they stopped at, where a floor should have been, there was no floor. So it was like looking down into the night sky when we normally look up. So I'm looking down, not realizing that I'm floating.
Wow, that's crazy.
Where the floor should have been, there were a walkway. Square stones, side by side. So I looked right, and the walkway went down and went to the right and disappeared. I looked to the left to see where it was going that way. And it went into the wall maybe like 100 feet away. There was a door in the wall, and that door looked like the old castle doors with the curve at the top. When you say cave, most people think, oh, were you in hell or something, you know? But I had no fear there. No fear, I never feared nothing. And when I looked in the doorway, there was somebody in the doorway. And I'm looking, I'm like, wow, I can see through it like a ghost. I can see right through him. And he was just looking at me. So we were just looking at each other. And, you know, when you see something like that, you would get afraid. But I was...
And hey, before I know, I got something to say. I know I had to pause. I'm just say something right quick. You know how people don't want to believe in certain stuff like this? I mean, these people put so much details in these stories, but people don't want to believe them. And it makes me wonder, like, you should try to believe them, bro. Like, they not making this stuff up. I mean, this right here is crazy. Like, you'll just never know what people experienced and everything like that. But anyway, let's just go ahead and keep going.
I was like the cat. I was inquisitive. I said to myself, I want to go see what that is. As soon as "is" came out of my mouth or my thoughts, I took off like a bullet. And I was moving so fast that the sides were blurred. I was going so fast. And I got to the wall, that's when I was like, oh my God. I said, humans don't move like that. how did I just do that? And I remembered why I went to the wall. It was to see who was there. And I remember, so I looked down below me, and there he was. But he didn't look up at me, he just floated along the path that I was looking at, the stone. And I watched him float all the way until he disappeared. And then apparently I went through the door because everything went jet black dark. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And all of a sudden I saw a light appear, and it looked like somebody had a flashlight, like they were searching. And that light fell on me, and it was so bright. If I had hands, but I went through the reaction of blocking the light with my hands. And that's when it took me in. And now the light wasn't so bright because I was inside of it. And it was soft. And so I remember I looked left, in front of me, right, and then down. And it was just this soft light. After a while, part I was facing started turning into a fog. And then the fog started clearing. And as I was looking, peering through, I could see a blue sky. And then that's when I got caught up. It felt like God it felt like he just grabbed me. And all I felt was this love, just powerful. It's like you get plugged up into electricity and you can't let go of it. And I was just like that, and it was just flowing through me. And the love was different. It was strong. It's something you never felt before, ever.
And then, like they always say, God's love, man, is I've been seeing stories of, people saying about God's love and how powerful it is and how warmth it is and how like it feels it feels so unconditionally that it feels it just feels so amazing, it's like his love is just powerful. And you got and when we experience that as people, it's almost as if, man, the stuff that you used to do, you don't even want to do no more. Like your mind just be rewired. Like you don't want to do certain stuff that you used to do. You don't want to fall into that dark place that you would fall into. Nothing on this earth will bother you anymore. You'll be living at this point, even like the earth, the world is already kind of like, bro, it is messed up. And, all the darkness in this world is just, the wickedness, the sins, all of this stuff is just crazy in the world right now, because we in a spiritual war. And then you start to realize how unconditional God's love is. When you go through a situation and you get like a near-death experience and you see stuff, you start to realize, man, like I need to get my life right. I need to start doing this. I need to start doing that. People need to start praying. They need to start repenting and all this crazy, and all this stuff. It's just because a lot of people, they just refuse to believe, that God is real because they don't see him. But the reason why I feel like but we might can't see him, but we can feel him in our souls, in our spirit. We can feel him, in our bodies and everything. I believe we can feel him. But the reason why some people can't feel him is because I believe that they let themselves be run by sin, or let themselves have too much hatred. And that's why I believe when you have too much hate in your heart, God hasn't left you, but he wants you to have faith and believe that everything will be okay, that he's right by your side. And I believe as long as you believe that he's right by your side, and as long as you believe that he's actually there, and you start believing that nothing can't hurt you. You start, you can start doing things without fear. You just know he's protecting you. You just know he's there, and it's like that. It's like that feeling, like you probably like. It's like that feeling when you go through something like like that's traumatizing, and when you're going through a hard time in life, it's like, God, I know you hear it. Like you feel this warm feeling somehow. Like you, like I don't know if y'all ever felt this before, but have y'all ever just been alone and y'all ever feel this crazy warm feeling? You don't know where it come from, but you could be going through a sad time right now, but you can. It's like I don't know if people pay attention to it, but it can happen. I think I'm not sure, but I think it happens to me. But like I can feel hurt in so many ways, but somehow this warm feeling. Like it almost feels like somebody is holding me, like somebody's telling me that it's okay, I'm here. Like I felt that from time to time when I feel so much pain in my soul or so much pain in my heart or stuff that I've been through that's traumatizing. Like it's almost like I feel this light, or I feel this voice telling me that it's okay, I'm here. And I don't know, bro. That's at least in my perspective, what it feels like.
And then I saw the words forgiveness, and then I saw the words love, and then I saw the words peace. And once I saw peace, I went back into the light and I floated out where it opened up. Each step that I went, I started losing Brian. And I never once questioned, hey man, you are in the sky. Whatever is happening, it was like my soul knew what was coming. I never had one bad thought. My mind was crystal clear.
Before I get, and another thing I want to say, I remember I would meditate. And when I would meditate, now, I'm not making this up. I kid you not. It might seem unreal what I'm about to tell y'all, but I'm not making this up. I was meditating. And I got so deep into my meditation, it was like I was flowing through the clouds. Like my spirit or my soul was just, like it was just going up. And the more I'm going up, right, I'm seeing clouds as I'm going up in the sky. And then it's like a portal opening of another land or something. I don't know. I be having these strange experiences when I meditate. Like this one time I meditated, right? I meditated and somehow I rose out of my body. I looked back and I couldn't stay out of my body long because I wasn't really dead or anything like that. I ended up backing back into my body. So I'm not, kid y'all not, I don't know or feel that was a dream. But when I say meditation, and something about meditation is so spiritual to the point that you just know God exists. You just know he does. It's another life after death. I'm not making none of this up. You can believe me or don't believe me, but when I say I've experienced things that probably nobody can explain when they meditate, but I get so in tune with the meditation. Cause if I'm in a quiet room, I'm by myself, and when you just enter by yourself and you meditate, you start to experience unnatural things that you would never experience when you're not meditating. Some people probably may experience stuff when they're not meditating. Maybe no, but something they probably experience on everyday life. Probably, I don't know. But I know when I meditate, I start experiencing stuff that I can't explain. And it's amazing, dude. It's just amazing.
It was like the wind was blowing through it. That was not one worry in the world, because I felt incredible and I can do anything that I wanted. I knew that. And so I floated down out of the sky and I floated to these pine trees. Pine trees have these needles. And as I was floating down, I could see every needle. Not one missed my eyesight. I saw all of them. And as I went down, I saw the tree go into the ground. And that's when I floated backwards. When I floated backwards, it was a drop off. You know, like the California coast, you got these big drop offs down to the water. Well, that's how this was. It was a big drop off. And when I looked down, man, there was this garden. And they had the flowers were so big, they were big as your dinner table. They were mesmerizing. They had so much life. You could feel it. And it felt like they were looking at me, even though they didn't have no eyes. Like everything was on me. And as I was looking at this garden, I can zoom in each flower that I want to see up close while I was looking left, right, up, and all of that. And I was just zooming them in, you know, whichever one I want to see up close. And I was just floating to the right real slow and just taking all this love in from these flowers, you know? It was like they were alive. And then the channel changed again. I was in the blue sky. Nothing around, no land, no nothing. And then it seems like the sky, something shifted. And then there was these 4 bright lights. They were straight up and down, spaced. And I was like, okay. And they were getting bigger. They were coming towards me. And as I was waiting for the lights to come, a lot of small lights start popping up. And they just start popping up all around me. And then they was just swirling, doing a thing, man. And I'm like, wow. It looked like it was so many, and it was just all over me. And I felt that that was my family, all my family that has left. And so here they are swirling with these beautiful small lights. And when the big lights got there, they stopped about where you're sitting. And all the little lights that were around me started going to the top light, like bullets. They were just going to the top. And they started melting together. And next thing you know, I see a head. And as they were filling him in. And next thing you know, I see shoulders. Then the elbows, it's like he was holding his hands in the front, but you couldn't see because it's light. But you could see the elbows sticking out, either it's in front or it was in the back. So I watched all these lights fill this whole man up. And when that finished at the bottom, I looked at it, he lifted his head, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Man, I was freaking out because I was just looking at all this power, nothing but power. Then he started moving in the sky. He went up and down, across. He was just flying around, and he never stopped looking at me. When he would go up, his head would tilt over. When he'd go down, his head would lean back. He never stopped looking at me. And so then he came back to me, and then he took off really fast. He left so fast that there were traces of himself. So I watched till each trace disappeared. I opened my eyes, and my medic was on top of me, and she was pushing my chest. I was looking at her, and I said, hey. When I said, hey, she looked at me, and she just jumped off of me, right? And she was looking at me, her eyes were huge. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, your heart stopped. She said, Brian, she said, you died. I said, how long was I gone? And she said, 4 to 5 minutes. And I couldn't believe that. So you telling me I'm gone 4 or 5 minutes? I said, I was in the stars that length of time. Then I went to the cave and then to the gardens and then to the sky, and you telling me I was only gone 4 to 5 minutes?
See, I'm gonna have to say something about that. I believe the spiritual realm, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I believe the spiritual realm is time move different compared to being alive. I think being when you alive, I think time moves slower compared to the spiritual realm that seems like it moves faster. What if, like, that's just a hypothetical question, like what if what if the spiritual realm time move a lot faster than the time when you alive? Like what I'm trying to say, like what if it's like in between. Like you know what I'm trying to say. What we believe that's been 4 to 5 minutes could be like an hour in the spiritual realm, maybe 2 to 3 hours in the spiritual realm. While we on Earth, it's like, well, it's like 4, 5, maybe a couple minutes. You've been dead or something like that. I don't know. Could be possible.
When it felt like an hour, I couldn't fathom what she told me. When I looked down, my shirt was cut open, and the patches were on my chest, and this machine sitting here talking. And that's when all reality started coming. I'm like, get me off of this floor. They got me up off the floor. My arm was hurting so bad, and I started sweating, and all my friends and bosses, everybody was just against the wall, and here I am sitting there sweating, wanting to go to sleep. And so I looked at them, and they would look away. They didn't want to see me like that. And so I heard something about a helicopter. So when I heard that, I said, oh, no way. I said, I'm gonna be paying for that thing for the rest of my life. So I kind of got a smile out of them, helped them out, because what I saw, I wasn't afraid no more. I'm like, man, so y'all sitting here worrying about me. So I was the one making the jokes. Then the ambulance got there, and they couldn't move me because of the distance. I was 80 miles from any major hospital. And so they put me in the ambulance. Once they hooked me up, I just went to sleep. This time, when I popped out of my body, I was like standing next to myself. And I was looking at my face, and my eyes were closed, and my head was laid to one side. And I was just standing there and just looking at myself. And I didn't even know what I was looking at. I didn't know that was me. I didn't want to have nothing to do with what I was looking at. I considered my body an it. When they revived me the first time, the way I ended that in that mind frame, I went into the second NDE with the same mind frame. And this time, I was facing these flowers. And these flowers was in this big circle. So inside this circle was all these different flowers in their own groups. And I knew right when I saw it what it was about. I had no questions at what I was looking at. I tried to make a painting of it. This is what I tried to paint. I tried to make this is what I was looking at. So I took that as all of us are different. We have blacks, we have the whites, Chinese. Everybody in that group has their own color. But yet, all of these colors are still in the circle, which makes us one, regardless of what we look like.
Okay.
I automatically knew what that meant when I was looking at
okay.
it.
Yeah, I do know what that means. What he's saying about you Chinese, black, or white, any other race or whatever like that. What that image meant is that we are one as a whole. So it doesn't matter what race you are. It means that we are one. Meaning, like, and that's why I say I don't really think race or being racist, I don't think that's I don't really think that's I think that's made up. I always thought that racism is made up. They go by based off your skin color, about how you act. But to be honest, what he just said is it makes sense. It's a real spiritual thing. Like, we are one, meaning that we may look different, but in the overall, we are one as a whole. And the lack of love that most people have when it comes down to other races, because you don't like them, you're not understanding what you're saying. You against your own kind, meaning we are alike. No matter how much you want to say that we not alike, we pretty much alike. And I like that concept.
And I'm like, wow, we all here, but we fight amongst each other, but we still a part of the circle.
Yup.
There's nobody outside of the circle. From there, I was in space again, and I was looking at a blue planet. And it was so blue, super, super blue. And the colors there are I say 1,000 times more than the colors you see here. Super, super advanced. Just make you stare at them for nothing. And after that, there were flashes of other stuff. I saw so much, but those I can't remember because it was going so fast. I was seeing so much. So then that's when I popped back in my body in the ambulance. This time when I opened my eyes, the people in the ambulance, they was all huddled together and they was looking at me. And I was like, what happened? And the lady said, oh, we had to shock you. And then I could hear the helicopter coming. They put me in the helicopter and flew me to Wichita, Kansas. And once we hit the roof, they were ready. You know, they was there, it's a blockage, it sounded like a blockage. And they start running me through, and I could see the lights going like you see on TV when they're rushing the patients. And they got me in there and they took all my clothes off and they were prepping me for surgery. And they had this guy on my left side, working right there. And I had my arms on my side because I remember I was freezing cold. And when I opened my eyes, my arms were behind my head, up over. And so the guy was working, I said, hey. He said, yeah. I said, wasn't my arms on my side? And he like, you didn't feel that? I said, no, feel what? He said, man, when we shocked you, your whole body almost came off the table. And I asked him, I said, am I gonna die today? And he said, no, my watch you not. And so they fixed me. And the doctor came in and I was sitting up and he looked at me, he said, man, you supposed to be on a ventilator. He said, you just had a massive heart attack. Your heart is mad, really mad. And here you are just sitting up talking to me like ain't nothing happening. You're not even supposed to be talking to me right now. And so they put me in the ICU and the nurse comes out with this paperwork. And she started going down and she looked at me. She said, oh my God. She said, you had a widowmaker heart attack. And she said, you only had a 10% chance of surviving that, even in the hospital. And I was like, wow, I was supposed to die that day. They kept telling me they was gonna put a pacemaker because I had to wear this vest. And that vest would shock me if my heart did anything out there because I was pushing out 30%, I think, or 35 when your heart's supposed to push out 55. So I wore the vest for 3 months and I went to the hospital and they did a check on my heart. And after they did the test, I was leaving and the doctor called my phone. He said, you could take that vest off. He said, Brian, he said, we've been doing tests on this type of heart attack since the 70s. And he said, your heart and one other person since the 70s healed all the way. He said, all you have is some scarring on your heart from them shocking you. He said, other than that, your heart beating just like mine. He said, you are a miracle. I'm not afraid to die anymore. I'm not afraid at all. When it happens, it happens. Don't cry over me. That's what I tell them. Don't you cry over me. I try and pray to God to get me back here. No. When I got out the hospital, I went into depression because it was so beautiful there. And didn't nobody understand why I kept saying I wanted to stay there. You know, I have left here. I dropped this body and I was back home. And then you have to come back here. And I was just upset that I couldn't stay. There's no words for a lot of it, especially the love. I can't tell you how that love really is. It goes beyond human words. And so I wanted to find people like me. I started reading the NDE experiences. That's where I spent my first year. just studying, or finding or making friends with people. And I found so many that said the exact same words. Everything is about love. Now there's other people now I'm hearing saying the same thing. So I knew I wasn't crazy when I heard that. I knew.
And he right. Everything is about love. A lot of see, it's not about relationship love. See, people mistaken relationship love and God's love. They kind of like mix that up to the point where they believe that they don't believe in that natural love state. We should love all. Like, yeah, I'm not a people person, but I don't like being around no one. But at the same time, I do want to be able to love. Like, I don't want to be rude to nobody. I try to, if people want to, I don't want to deal with people, but if they come over there and talk to me, I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna have a conversation. I may make you laugh and stuff like that, but it's great, like I want to see you happy. I want to see you smile. I want to see you with love in your soul. I don't want to see nobody that's hurt. And you got so many people that have so much hatred and so much pain in they self that it clouds the love that's in a soul and is in a spirit, because you let yourself be overwhelmed by all of this hatred inside of you. And you got so many bad people that will try to make that come out of you, and that will lead you on a bad path to not want to experience love in that manner when it comes down to God's love. Because so many people mistaken God's, basically they mistaken relationship love and God's love as if it's the same. But I believe God's love is way different compared to relationship love, and it's way more. And I think God's love teach us to love each other as one, and that's what I believe.
I was here to tell my story. That's my job now. But when I came back, I was different, and I didn't think like everybody else did anymore. I was raised in a hellfire church. You have to have a Holy Ghost. You better obey the Bible and all this stuff, or you'll never see heaven. That's how we were raised. I died 3 times, and not once did I see a hell. And I felt like a God, and I'm just a normal person. I wasn't in nobody's church. I believe in God. I love God since a child, but I always had questions like, why is this God so mad? Or why put us here, and then we got to have rules to leave? It made no sense. And so after I came back, I saw things totally different. I don't judge nobody by their religion, because I one time believed a certain way that I was taught. So I can't judge you, for believing what you have, because you haven't died and seen it. But when I came back, I didn't see people anymore. I saw souls. And that's how I live my life now. I won't look
So
at
what he's saying is he don't see people anymore. He sees souls, meaning that it's better to, instead of just looking at people as people, look at them as souls to love, basically.
You as anything but a soul. And I try and help everybody that I can, and most of the time don't look for nothing back from it, because it's material.
Yeah,
Material.
Everything is material.
Your material things, all of that change. It's not important no more. Because
it's crazy how he mentioned that, because when I think about I always said money, any type of materialistic thing don't matter to me, and it really don't, because why should that stuff matter when it doesn't make it, like I said, that materialistic stuff doesn't necessarily make you happy. It doesn't lead you anywhere, to God. It doesn't lead you nowhere. It just leads you to be selfish in your own way. So when you let yourself be, be thrown into um the materialistic world where you think you need money, you need this, you need that. Like anything objective, you just feel like you just need to get, like, that's going to make you so happy. But really, the things that you think that makes you happy in this life isn't really making you happy. It's really turning you away. I feel like it's turning you away to God, from God, what I'm trying to say. And it's not really leading you to him, because I feel like it's turning you from him, because like you too focused on everything about this world, that you thinking that the physical world it's just, the physical world is just temporary. It's not what you should be focused on in general, but you really should be focused on the spiritual things. And that's what I mean about, you need to focus on the spiritual things. The spiritual things is really what matters the most. And and when you try to find things on this earth that makes you happy, it'll make you happy temporary to keep your mind off of stuff. But the thing that will keep you happy for eternity is God himself. So if you doing stuff to make you happy and not really trying to focus on God, to be honest, you just leading yourself on in a bad path, because instead of you trying to put your focus on God, you more focused on the materialistic stuff that can temporarily make you happy. And that's what that's true.
You're not taking it with you. And so the stuff that I used to worry about, I try not to anymore. Help who you can, when you can. That's all God wants. We're here to help each other. And if you can't find a way to do that, I mean, what else is there?
And he ain't lying. I like to be there for people, for the few people that I'm close to. And I can always say, for the people that just be against you for no reason, I feel like they too corrupted by demons. They be against you, they envy you. They are corrupted by demons. You can't tell me otherwise that they not. But when you try to go to them, you try to be there for them. You can say this countless of times. I've tried to be there. I've tried to show you how I care about you. I've tried to show you how I love you as a person. But for you to come back and betray me, for you to come back and disown me and push me over the edge and not respecting me and stuff like that, you can't expect me to stick around, because I can't do that. I'm not perfect. I'm not God. But what I'm saying is I can't keep doing this, because it's messing up my energy. It's messing up my spiritual energy. You can be a person that put things to the side all the time, but that person will just keep coming back with issues and disruptions, and that's how people get murdered. Because I feel like by you keeping that person around, it's a matter of time when that person might actually harm you. As much as I cannot stand to say that, but it's true. So some people, you just gotta let go and let them find their way. Let them come back on their own. Look, man, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. Unless they own up to their mistakes, do not take them back. Do not take them back. If they do this again after they apologize, they can't come back no more, because you've tried to, be that person that you said, that spiritual godlike person that you tried to be to them. But they still looking at the bad. They still looking at that you are this. They still looking at you that you are that. They're not trying to look at the good things about you. A person that always look for bad things and not the good in you is never the people you should keep around, because they on a path, a more darker path than you. So you have to let them go and maybe hope that they find their way, because if you keep dealing with these people, you're gonna destroy yourself in the mix of it. But that was it, man. That was it. Tell me how y'all feel about this, man. I really love this video. This video was awesome. It was breathtaking. It was showing. I was feeling the energy from this video as well. Yeah, man. I really agree with a lot of stuff that he was saying and the stuff that I've experienced myself as a person. Yeah, you have to. You got to stay prayed up, man. You got to keep God first. As much as you hate to, as much as certain people like can't stand to stay prayed up, or they just put God to the side and still do the things they do and not repent and all this stuff, man. You got to repent and keep yourself on a higher path than others, because you got to have you got to have love, man. You got to have love in yourself. You can't have a lot of hatred in you. Because let's just be honest, you can't get into heaven. I believe that you can't get into heaven with so much hatred. It's always about forgiveness. So you got to understand that as a person. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and let me know if you like the video or not. Comment on the things that you may have to say, or things that you may have to say about the video or whatnot. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Peace.